Hey, how's it going? This is Larry. I'm back with part 2 of the Revelation chapter 16 breakdown. I've explained verses 11, 16 through 18, and 21 so far. Let's pick up with verse 19. And the great city was divided into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell, and great Babylon came in remembrance before God to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. Now let's slowly go back over the verse. And the great city. This is explained in the same verse. The great city, cities of the nations, Babylon, and the reference of a woman are all referring to the same thing. This is referring to anyone that doesn't keep the commandments. I'll read the precepts for clarity. Revelation chapter 17, verses 1, 2, and 5. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will shew unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. Revelation chapter, same chapter with verse 18. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. More precepts are in chapter 18. That's what I was thinking about. But I'm going to continue explaining Revelation chapter 16, verse 19. And the great city was divided into 3 parts. Being divided into 3 parts is the same thing as the same verse saying the cities of the nations fell, came in remembrance, and were given the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. I'm going to bring out more precepts about the 3 parts right now. Verses 20 and 21 mention every island, mountains, and men. These are the same 3 parts. The same thing is being repeated. The words fled, not found, and fell are also metaphors for the word fell in verse 19. I'm going to read both verses. And the great city was divided into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell, and great Babylon came in remembrance before God to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. Before I use another precept to continue explaining verse 19, remember that what I just covered is just continuing to refer to unrighteous teachers not ruling over saints anymore. This happened during the time period of the Romans, other time periods, and today. This is just like Revelation chapter 20, verse 11. The book of Revelation just continues to repeat the same message over and over. If you haven't seen my Revelation chapter 20 breakdown series, please check it out when you have a chance. Let's stick with the same theme and go to verse 12 of Revelation chapter 16. And the 6th angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. The great river Euphrates is referring to great Babylon again. The great river gives an example of water. The water is a reference to people. The water/people are referenced again in verses 3 and 4. We'll get to it in time. Now back to verse 16. The water being dried up is referring to understanding being taken away from unrighteous teachers. The kings of the east are the righteous teachers. The verse says that the way for them was prepared. Prepared is the key word. No place or way is prepared for sinners, according to Revelation chapter 20, verse 11. Now, a place is prepared for saints. Here's some scriptures with the proof. Revelation chapter 19, verse 7 is one of the scriptures. Ready in this verse means prepared. Revelation chapter 21, verse 2 is another verse for evidence, and it uses the word prepared. Let's get one more. Revelation chapter 12, verse 6 is another verse that uses the word prepared. Before I move on to the next verse, I'm going to address one more point. Is this verse talking about countries of today going to the Middle East to fight in World War III? It could be. Revelation chapter 19, verse 19 could be a link. If it is the Lord's will, I'll probably give my thoughts about the matter in a Revelation chapter 19 breakdown series in the future. That is why it is good to not only watch my videos, but also the videos of other saints. I'm not just talking about other Israelites or so-called Pacific race of people. I say this because if you have seen most of my videos, I mention America, NATO, and other subjects about today, but don't guarantee that the scriptures are talking about them. Other teachers do. Please refer to them if you need more information about those events. We all have different gifts. Now I'm going to the next verse. Revelation chapter 16, verse 13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. This continues the theme of 3, like the 3 parts from verse 19. The beast, false prophet, and devil are all referring to people, in particular, teachers that lie. The unclean spirit, like frogs, are lies that come out of the mouths of the 3. Frogs are an unclean animal. The fact that it comes out of their mouth is a metaphor for lies coming out of their mouths. The next verse calls these things miracles. I'm going to prove the definition of these miracles with another verse. Here it is. Revelation chapter 13, verse 14. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword, and did live. Now, Revelation chapter 16, verse 14 is a repeat of verses 12 and 13. The great day of God Almighty is referring to Armageddon in verse 16, and the kings of the earth and the whole world are actually referring to people that have been deceived. Revelation chapter 17, verse 2 and Revelation chapter 18, verse 3 explain this. Revelation chapter 16, verse 12 gives us the righteous people for battle. And Revelation chapter 16, verse 14 gives us the definition of the unrighteous people for battle. Remember Michael and his angels versus the devil and his angels from the first video of this series. Part 2 is getting pretty long. I'm going to cut it off right here. Please stay tuned for part 3. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day. Bye.